Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. It's a very small group so far, so you know, this can be pretty informal. We want to basically introduce you to our data science students and then also tell you more about the program. So if everybody could, in participants, go ahead and tell us, you know, who you are. I mean, we see your names, but if you want to put your organization, if you click on your name on the right side, you can do a rename and maybe put, if you're a UBalt student or if you're with a different organization, just let us know, and that way we know who we're talking to. That would be awesome. And we are going to go ahead and get started. And yes, the chat is open for anybody to chat with us. We'll introduce ourselves. And I think we're going to go ahead and get started, right, Logan? Okay, so my name is Seema Iyer, and I have the awesome privilege of overseeing the Baltimore Neighborhood Indicators Alliance, which is at the University of Baltimore. And we are part of the Data Science Institute. And we have been around for about 20 years, at the university for about 13 years, and most of our staff is on this phone, and we just initiated a project in 2020 called Data Science for Social Good. We're doing it in Baltimore, but it's meant to be useful to all urban areas, and it is part of the National Science Foundation's solicitation for proposals called Through the Harnessing Data Revolution effort that they initiated a couple of years ago. So what we did was pose basically a project to train our students in the ideas of data science, but actually use their skills in data science for social good. And at the Baltimore Neighborhood Indicators Alliance, we are a pretty diverse, interdisciplinary, diverse group of experts. So there isn't one thing that we call data science. It's all these things that come together to collectively be data science. And these are the skills that we've had in the past. And you can imagine if we are going to recruit new staff to the program, it's actually a little bit challenging to figure out. It's not one department that we can recruit from. It's a whole bunch of different departments that we can recruit from. And almost all skills are something that we can use in a project like the Baltimore Neighborhood Indicators Alliance. So for this particular grant, we really wanted to focus in on students from information science and applied information technology that may not know a lot about the neighborhood work that we do or the other kind of applied work that we do, and actually train them in the kind of skills that we do have, which are normally around geographic information systems and other data management skills and statistical analysis that we do all the time. And so we wanted to try and basically create a pathway of both training students in this idea of data science, but then also connecting them to applied opportunities. And that's what you're going to hear about from our students today. So just so that you all know, especially for those of you that are University of Baltimore students, this is a paid internship, which hopefully is actually one of the even more benefits of being a part of our cohort. And it's through the grant. You have to be an undergraduate student at the University of Baltimore to be paid. So even though we're recruiting from those two fields or two departments in particular, any University of Baltimore student that is interested in data science and that has some of these required skills and that wants to join us is welcome to be a part of it. There is chances to use your time with us to qualify for an internship experience. And the kind of skills that we have to have are some basic Excel and Access skills, like knowing how to deal with spreadsheets. Ideally, you have some familiarity with Python, and then some data cleaning experience. And if it's not through a position or a project, that you've gone through one of our courses that would have trained you on some data cleaning experience. So that's a very quick overview of the project. And we're going to turn it over to our current cohort for the fall 2020. We had one that started in the summer, and some of our students actually moved on into the fall. So Brian, Michael, and Ruth are going to tell you about their transition from the summer into the fall and what they've learned from it. And that's about it. I'm going to turn it over to Brian Kelly to get us started and stop sharing.
Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Brian Kelly, and let me switch over to the second screen really quickly. So what I want to do is I want to share with you guys the project that I worked on over the summer. And then I'm going to talk about how I'm transitioning into the project that I'm working on now. And let me know if you guys can see this screen.
You're good?
Looks good? Cool. And the next screen, did it go over? All right, cool. So this is the project that I worked on over the summer, but I'll do a brief introduction. My name is Brian Kelly, and I started with BNIA in the summer of this year, 2020. And I came on as a data science core intern, and I'm currently pursuing the upper division certificate in computer programming at UB. And I plan on graduating this fall, and personally, I'm a huge film buff, and I'm very excited for the next opportunity to attend the Toronto International Film Festival. So the project that I worked on over the summer was working with scooters and data in Baltimore City. We received a bunch of data from the Baltimore City Department of Transportation for scooters, 3 private companies, Jump, Lime, and Spin. I'm sure you guys have probably seen them around Baltimore City. And these private companies provide dockless scooters for the public to rent. And this is an annual permit that was launched by the Department of Transportation from August 1st, 2019 to about July 31st, 2020. They charged a fixed rate, $1 to unlock the vehicle, and then 15, 30 cents depending on traffic, where you are in the city, per minute, and the prices were displayed on the app before you started your rent. And we analyzed 5 months of administrative data, which I didn't know what that term meant before I started working at BNIA, but it is data that's collected by organizations for non-statistical reasons, primarily for transactions, record keeping, and registrations. Almost everywhere has like administrative data, and my job was to clean that data and to turn it into something tangible and useful for people to read and just make informed decisions. So that's kind of what you see on the right-hand side. What I did was I took the coordinates and we plotted all the routes that were taken by the scooters that were used, and we plotted them with the geo coordinates. We plotted them, and then we saw that all that stuff on the right-hand side. It'll make more sense on the next slide. And these lines indicate the starting and ending points of a scooter's trip. So on the next slide, on the left-hand side, you can see that data that was on this side. On this slide, we overlaid it with Baltimore City. And we noticed that all the routes were primarily focused in one area in the city, and come to find out that's actually called the White L, which is like the midtown of Baltimore City, and it's like the overserved section of Baltimore City. And the areas that don't have access to these scooters are the Black Butterfly. And these areas are illustrated on the map on the right-hand side right here. And these are the underserved communities in Baltimore City. And we found out that a large majority of Baltimore City does not actually have access to this form of transportation. And 31 out of 39 of the neighborhoods without frequent scooter use have over 50% African American population, which is illustrated on the graph on the right-hand side. And most of them have significantly higher than 50%. And only 6 out of the 16 neighborhoods with high scooter use have over 50% African American population. So the scooters, we found out, aren't being shared very fairly and are very focused in just one part of the city. And not only towards like one demographic, but also a large amount of the population does not have access to these scooters either. 70% of the population lives outside of the area with high frequency of scooter usage, and only 30% of the population has exposure to this last mile use of transportation. And despite the uneven scooter distribution, the two areas have the same number of bus loadings per 1,000 residents, meaning that scooters are typically used after you get off whatever form of transportation that you're using to reach your destination, be it work, school, grocery shopping, whichever, and uh, it's just not an equal distribution. And 50% of Baltimore City residents can't utilize this last mile transportation. So there could be like a better way that we're distributing the scooters, but my job was to just take all the information and put it out for everybody to see. And what's really cool is that this semester I'm going to be defining underserved communities, and in the form of transportation, I'm actually working with the Central Maryland Transportation Alliance. So I get to continue all the skills that I learned, which was all that data was used with R Markdown, and I'm going to be able to use that knowledge and also continue working in the same area of interest. So I'm very excited for the work that I'm going to be doing this semester. And cool,
That
that's
is a
it for me.
perfect wrap up, Brian. That was awesome. Thanks so much for talking about what you did this summer and then linking it obviously to what you're going to be doing this fall. So one thing that in the summer, we did not connect our data science students to external organizations. They pretty much just kind of worked with us, and the BNIA project had this scooter data that we ourselves hadn't really analyzed. But this fall, we actually did start to connect students to external organizations. So that's a new thing this fall. So Michael or Ruth, Michael, we thought you would go next, but are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great.
I initially joined with my phone. I had a different event link on my computer.
Got it.
All
No
right,
problem.
let me share. Can I share my screen?
You should be able to.
All right.
Yep, we can see it.
Oh, cool. Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Vandy. I'm an AIT senior, Applied Information Technology senior here at UB, and I'm part of the data science core for this semester, and I was also with the BNIA data science core for the summer. So today I'm going to talk about mentorship and networking with the BNIA data science core. So here at BNIA, we do have a wide array of mentors within and outside the organization. And you can interact with mentors in many settings. One such event is the Baltimore Data Week we had here in celebration of BNIA's 20th anniversary. We had 20 webinars in 1 week featuring many professionals from different data and technology related fields. One of those events was the Mapathon that we had with a group called Map Time Be More. We had professionals coming from Google, we had professionals coming from OpenStreetMap, we also had professionals coming from the mayor's office, and all of these professionals were able to give a talk about what they do in their specific areas of expertise. And then you can learn from those people, because it was pretty surreal to be in the same Zoom call with someone who's from the mayor's office or someone who's working from Google. So as a BNIA data science core, you get to meet all these people that you can learn from. And the cool thing is, because you go to the University of Baltimore, you get to talk about Baltimore issues, and then you get to talk about issues affecting Baltimore with vital signs and all of that. So for Baltimore natives and Baltimore enthusiasts, I'm not a Baltimore native, but I'm certainly a Baltimore enthusiast now. And I find that these events and conversations that you have with mentors within and outside the Baltimore community, it not only gives you an overarching perspective of Baltimore, but it also helps you feel as part of the community. We also have an intercollegiate program with professors from UMBC and Towson, and they give you lectures in their own field. You know, you get to learn from people with experiences that are north of 20, 30, 40 years. Within BNIA, we also have our own in-house specialists. We do have a GIS specialist, we have a web developer, we do have a data specialist, And all of these people are just one email away, or even one Teams call away, you know. And if you have questions, you can just text them, message them on Teams, and they can coach you on their specific areas of expertise. We also partner with many other organizations in Baltimore where you can learn from. I remember off the top of my head, I think we're partnering with an organization called Coding the Schools. We're partnering with other organizations within Baltimore as well. So here I'm going to talk about some of the projects that I've worked on over the summer and coming into the fall. In the summer, I worked on a project that used OpenStreetMaps to track a repository of COVID-19 testing sites within Baltimore. So we were required to update and maintain all the testing sites within Baltimore. And then you can imagine how important such a project is, because it helps people within the Baltimore environment to know where there are testing sites. And this was something I haven't learned before. This was something I never knew about, but as I came into the program, I was being coached on how to add points to OpenStreetMap, and I'm developing some interest in going into a GIS program for grad school. Over the summer, I also worked on a web scraping project where we built a web scraper to collect data from the internet for one of our Baltimore vital signs. Here at BNIA, we do have a lot of vital signs and indicators for Baltimore, so you get to work on which one you feel most attached to. Now in the fall, I'm working on a data migration project where we're migrating data from G Suite to create data visualizations. So as you can imagine, these are a lot of projects in different fields. So what approach should you take? Should you take the polymath approach if you get to be a BNIA data science core, or should you take the specialist approach? So polymath is someone who has interests in many different fields, especially someone who's focused on a single field. So for me, I decided to take the polymath approach because I'm learning a whole lot of things. I can't really figure out where I'm at. But here at BNIA, we do have opportunities for both of these approaches. So if you do want to be a polymath, you can get to work on many projects like me. Or if you do want to focus on just one thing, you also have the opportunity to do that. So at this point, if you're thinking of applying to the BNIA Data Science course, so I'm not sure if people can type in the chat, but if you're interested, can you please type in what you're interested to learn, and we can talk about it at the end of the session and highlight BNIA projects that can help you learn those things. So I know some of my colleagues are working on machine learning projects this semester. Brian's been working on GIS stuff and scooter data and all of those things. So you're basically being paid to learn, and you don't really get that these days. So I encourage you to apply. Applications are open every semester for the next couple of years, so go for it. I think this should be the end of my talk.
That's fantastic. And yes, we encourage people, and not only apply every year, but even if you are thinking about finishing your degree here at the University of Baltimore, it's the next 2 years that you could be a fellow. So even if you start a program at UB and want to join us in the future, that's an option. But it's such a great way to think about this idea about the polymath and the specialist, because even though we're the Baltimore Neighborhood Indicators Alliance, and we are all about neighborhoods, so you think that's a specialization, but it's actually not. Neighborhoods is about everything. It happens to be about one place, which is Baltimore. And inevitably over time, you have to keep not only upgrading your own skills, like the things that I was doing 20 years ago, I don't do that anymore, right? I was actually coding in C++, which nobody does anymore, but using kind of new skills today and constantly kind of upgrading. And I feel like that's what data science will continuously be. So the more you learn different skills now, whenever you do need to deploy them in the future, you can kind of pull it out of your bag of tricks, say like, oh yeah, I know what that was, and maybe I can figure it out again and use it, you know, even 2, 3, 4, or 5 years later. So great way to think about it. Thanks so much, Michael. Ruth.
All right. Hi, guys. My name is Ruth. I am a junior at the University of Baltimore. I'm actually a business major, so a concentration in real estate and economic development. Although that is not technically data science related, there's still a lot of intersections, especially since we're talking about neighborhoods, and real estate has a bit of data involved as well. So my interest in this started from me deciding that I would use business as a background and then use this internship to branch off my career in data science and serving community. So I'm going to show you guys a project that I was working on as well. Give me a moment to share my screen. Okay. So I guess I'll start here. So this is, can you guys see what I'm sharing?
You're good.
Okay. So I guess I'll start from the beginning. We had a project this summer where I was taking data from MLab, which is a measurement lab. And basically people go on here and they get, like they test the speed of their internet, and then that data is collected. And this is taken from all over the US, all over the world. So the first step in analyzing the data for Baltimore specifically in terms of internet speed tests was first, you know, getting background information, understanding what is fast speed, what is not so fast speed, and how do you know the cutoff for someone who is not able to, let's say, do Zoom online, like how many megabytes do you need to, or megabits per second do you need to actually do a Zoom call? So there was some background information involved. And the technical side of it was dealing with SQL. So I inputted the data onto Google BigQuery, and I used SQL to extract just the Baltimore City data. And from there, I was able to put it onto a spreadsheet. Now, it took a lot of trial and error to kind of learn the right sequence for SQL, get a background of the language, because I came into this knowing a little bit of Python, being really good with Excel, but not really knowing too much about SQL. So that's the thing. Usually, if you're doing a project that's out of your comfort zone, you do have to get used to learning something from scratch, but that's kind of the fun of it. So as long as you have the technical mindset or a certain way of thinking, then I think you wouldn't have trouble with learning something completely new. Like I learned SQL at a baseline level. And from there, I was able to analyze some of the information. I just put it into simple like histogram bar graphs. And what I noticed really was there wasn't a huge difference in internet speeds from neighborhood to neighborhood. So this is a geographic image representing it. So although they do have different colors, red representing the lowest internet speed and green representing the highest, there was still such a small difference that in this case, the data wasn't helpful when it comes to separating community from another community within Baltimore. But what was really helpful when extracting the Baltimore City data was comparing it to other, like the rest of Maryland. So this is some more of the data. And at the end, I compared it to Maryland as a whole. And when we look at Baltimore City, about 61% have internet speeds below 25 megabits per second. And based on the background information, I learned that that was kind of the cutoff for what is considered fast internet speeds, at least for download. And that's compared to Maryland as a whole, where about 35% have speeds below 25 megabits per second. So we're seeing that Baltimore City does have a disadvantage when it comes to internet speeds. And I feel like that was really helpful at this moment in time because of the pandemic. And I learned quite a bit about the technical side and also the community aspect and why there needs to be more activism for better internet access and faster internet speeds, specifically in Baltimore City. And right now, I'm actually working on another project, and I'm partnering with the Mayor's Office of Innovation, and they've asked for us to create a model of kind of like an alert system where it involves web scraping Twitter or social media, and then creating an alert system that will alert the right authorities if there is illicit behavior around COVID-19. So if someone tweets on social media that they're in this restaurant, there's 5 people not wearing a mask, or people just don't socially distance, then it would be a way for the city to kind of track what places need to be investigated more when in regards to violations around COVID-19. So it's a little bit of an ambitious project for me also, because I do have to kind of brush up on the web scraping skills and the machine learning aspect. But I noticed that I'm learning a lot, and it's really deeply grounded in issues that are really relevant right now. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm also excited about the connections that I've made. I mean, I'm collaborating with the mayor's office, and that's super interesting, super fun. So yeah.
Well, you guys did an awesome job, maybe unbeknownst to yourselves, actually kind of having these themes go across. So thanks for that. And please, if anybody wants to unmute themselves and ask a question, please do that. Or if you want to put it in the chat, please do that. We just have a couple minutes. But the thing that I thought I heard all of you say was, you know, not only wanting to learn new skills, but the question is, would these have been questions that you would have naturally asked on your own without having kind of somebody in the field actually saying, this is what's important right now? So you're using your skills for a very timely issue because that's exactly what's going on. So this idea of connecting your skills to an actual issue, would you have been able to do that if not for this particular project?
Not in the same capacity at all. I mean, I see the impact of the work I'm doing already because I created a blog from this summer research that I did and summer work, and that was actually used, referenced in another blog. And then I'm going to directly see the effects of, what'd you say?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm going to directly see the effects of the alert system that I hope to create as well. So you're really seeing the effects of everything you're doing and how grounded it is in timely issues that we see.
Any thoughts on that, Michael or Brian?
Yeah, for me, it's learning things on the fly, as opposed to if I was doing this on outside BNIA, I would have probably like, I wouldn't have any accountability to maybe learn web scraping, you know, but because I have to do it for a project, I need to learn it in like a week. So it really puts some pressure on you to, you know, learn.
But that you're not alone too. We're here to help you do that. And sometimes we might not know the answer ourselves. So
there was a lot of cool, just working over the summer and everything, there was just like a lot of overlap. I got to go into new directions where I wasn't going to be thinking about in the first place. And then also it helped me shape up a lot of tools and use a lot of stuff that I didn't know about that was stuff that I was already working on. Like, for example, we had a GitHub workshop where I learned to be able to host my own website, so I can show people new jobs, interviews, jobs that I'll be applying for in the future, all the projects that I've worked on previously. So that was something really awesome. And then I also got to learn a new language to code in. So that was great.
That is great. Well, it is 2:30, so we are going to stop this particular webinar, but I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Thank you guys for all of your great insights and your great presentation. And remember, if you are a UB student or if you know a UB student that wants to join us, the cohort will open again in January. Thanks, everybody.